Welcome to Face the Analyst. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm pleased to be here with Renaud Hinse. He's the president and CEO of Abcourt Mines. It's a developing mining company in Quebec. It has some very valuable assets. It's got a share price that is very low, and I'm always interested in looking and talking to companies that have low share prices relative to their value in the ground. I want to ask Renaud a little bit about how he expects to build value for his company, and we're going to get into the details of his gold and silver mining project in just a moment. Renaud, welcome to Face the Analyst.
Good day.
It's a pleasure to see you again. It's been a number of years. I want to ask you if you could just tell our viewers how many shares you have outstanding and what's the recent share price?
We have about 76 million shares outstanding, and on top of that we have about 2 million shares in options and about 4 million, I think, in warrants.
Okay, and the recent share price is about?
Well, it closed at 15 cents last
15
Friday.
cents, 15 cents. Okay, so you know you can have share prices that are low, but then the question is, what do you have? What are the assets that the company has? Now, I know you have a pretty well-developed gold mine, in fact, a mine that had been in production before. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about that? How many ounces of gold do you have at this point in time, and what kind of future prospects do you have to develop that into a larger deposit?
The elder mine was in production from 1944 to 1964, and it produced at that time 350,000 ounces of gold from 2.2 million short tons of ore. In the 1980s, the mine was dewatered and rehabilitated, and there was quite a bit of development done and diamond drilling, and there was a resource established at that time. The price of gold, unfortunately, dropped
Right.
At the end of the 80s,
Right.
and the mine was closed because it became impossible to finance the project. And it was reopened in 1995, and there was some more drilling done on surface. Additional ore was found, and the mine was dewatered down to the 1,200-foot level. But again, the price of gold dropped, and at this time, it dropped very low.
Yes, it did.
$250, $300, and it made no sense at all at that time to try to start mining the resources at such low prices. So the mine was allowed to fill with water again. And but in the meantime, in 2006, we did another program of surface drilling, and we found some more ore. And we're currently doing another program of diamond drilling, and we're having some very good results. So slowly and gradually, we're building up the resources. Last summer, we had the 43-101 estimate made, and it showed 215,000 ounces, mostly in the
Measured and indicated?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And some of it in the inferred, but not very much.
What sort of grade, Renaud, what sort of grade are we talking about here?
We're talking of a grade of about 6.5 grams per ton, or
Okay.
0.2 ounce per ton.
Okay, so our viewers can do the math. 2/10 of an ounce and $1,200 gold right now means it's pretty valuable rock compared to a few years back.
It's over $200.
Over $200 rock.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the question in my mind always is, what is it going to cost to produce that gold from that $200 rock?
Yeah,
I mean,
our estimate, it's a mine estimate, it's not a 43-101 estimate, is that the cost of mining will be in the order of $500 to $600 per ounce.
per ounce. Okay.
So that leaves a good operating profit.
So that's your internal estimate. Management is
Yeah.
That's what you believe. Of course, there hasn't been a full feasibility study done yet, but that's your best estimate at this stage. So the viewer
but this is a mine that already has all the infrastructures in place.
Right.
That has a shaft, that has levels, 12 levels that are developed, and
Your electricity costs are fairly low here in Quebec as well.
That's right.
That's
right. And of course, Quebec was selected as the best place to do exploration for quite a few years.
Without a doubt. Now, Renaud, you don't have a mill on site now. You're going to need to prove up more ounces of gold before you build a mill, or could you custom mill? Is that a possibility?
Well, we could start by custom milling the ore, and if our exploration project is as successful as we expect it to be, we will have enough ounces to have our own mill on the site.
Excuse me, did you have a sense of how many ounces you need to justify the building of a mill?
Well, I think 300,000, or maybe a little bit more than 300,000 ounces would be sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of exploration potential there as well. Could you just maybe for 1 minute talk about that and give our viewers a sense of what the upside is, how many ounces you might be able to find there ultimately?
In the Elder mine, lots of ground hasn't been explored yet. And we think that on the existing level of the mine, we can double the resources that we have now. And we have an adjacent property called Tagami, where we did some drilling last winter, and the indications there are that we have at least another 60,000 ounces of gold, and maybe as much as 100,000 ounces of gold.
Okay, so there's lots of upside potential.
And then this zone was only explored over 60% of its length and above the 500-foot level. So there's lots of room to go deeper and to extend the zone by additional drilling.
Right.
And there's another zone on the property where we have a couple of good holes, and then.
Okay, so you have lots of upside exploration potential.
We think that overall, by combining the two properties, Elder and Tagami, we have a potential of 1 million ounces of gold.
That'd be a very substantial property for a company that's selling with a market cap of a little over $10 million now, but we've only talked...
I just want to add that the neighboring properties, the Silidar mine, for example, was mined down to 3,000 feet, and the Paul Rouen mine was mined down to 6,000 feet.
Right.
So...
these systems go to great depth, and so you have great depth potential. You also have potential laterally.
Yes, that's right.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about your gold mine. You also have a very promising silver zinc mine, I believe. Would you tell our viewers about that in the next couple of minutes?
The Abcourt Barview mine is located north of Val d'Or, and it's in an area that's serviced by roads and electric powers and all the facilities that we find in a mining town like Val d'Or. We operated this mine for 5 years, from 1985 to 1990, and before that it was in operation for another 5 years, from 1953 to 1958. First it was an open pit operation. Then we had an underground operation, and now we have an open pit project, which includes the ore that was left on the upper levels, and the deeper ore, and the extension of the zone on the Abcourt side of the property.
So it's a very advanced property.
It's very advanced. We have a feasibility study.
You do have a feasibility, and what were
43-101, and in the feasibility study we have 7 million tons of reserves, not resources, reserves, and in addition to that we have about 2 million tons of resources.